Primalpursuit on YouTube. He gets stuck in some pretty good fish. We've been speaking a while, so I'm pretty happy to be out with him. We started off our trip in a pretty cool location. It's on his brand new boat, and we're gonna go hard and see what we find. So we've just punched out pretty wide. We're just sitting on a reef just off this little small island basically. We're in about 10 meters here, but we are going to be diving maybe just the shelf. There's already a lot of sign on the sounder, so fingers crossed there's some kingies down there. Definitely keen to get stuck into them. All good pretty much. By the time I was all cameraed up and geared up and in the water, Ollie made good use of their spare time and had shot a beautiful pink mau. These are great fish and really good eating, so I'm very keen to shoot my first one. But before I make my first dive down, we have a curious visitor. It's the first bronze whaler we've seen, and it's not too aggressive. It looks pretty peaceful and calm, so I can't help myself but go down for a look. Now these sharks aren't stupid, so more than likely this shark heard Ollie's gun go off, or the disturbance of him shooting fish, or the stress of the fish, and came in for a look to see if he can get easy and free feed, as that's all they're looking for really, is the fish. They're not looking to eat a human. Eventually I get a nice breathe up and I just dive down into this little rocky crevice so I can look even further down. And now I'm keeping a nice low profile because I don't want these fish to see me, and you can see this whole school of pink mau here. That's what I'm after. Really looking forward. I've never shot one before, and eventually I pick the one I want and I get him just before he turns the wrong way. After the lack of kingfish and baitfish moving about, this is probably because of the tides. We are a bit early in the day and we've missed the tide, and we're actually waiting for the one later in the day. So I do one last dive on this rocky outcrop, but unfortunately not seeing the baitfish, and there's no signs of any bigger fish moving about. So we decide to move off to a new location and do some weed edges and hopefully find a boarfish or something. Just have a good old look really. One thing's for sure, this place is absolutely stunning. Just the rock features and the caves that are everywhere. If it was a bit calmer, we'd probably go explore some caves. The good thing is, the viz is looking a lot better here. Now, I don't know too much about boarfish. Last time I was in New Zealand, I didn't actually get a chance to hunt them, as they're very much present in the summer and not the winter months. Now, I know that they like to be along the weed lines and they like the sandy areas as well. And you really need to spot that silhouette and just go down and try and shoot it basically. However, you can see here, I'm not really seeing anything going on, unfortunately, and we dived the weed edges for a fair amount of time. with the day pushing on and soon to be the good tide time to hopefully find those kingies, we decided to push on to another location. Now this place was just truly insane again. Big steep rocks in and out the water, and it just went so deep. But I found a really nice little shelf and there was just fish everywhere, so I went down just to be in amongst them and have a good time, not even to hunt. It was just so cool and they were so interactive, they come right into you. Again, with not much fish moving here, Ollie said, right, jump in the boat, I've got one more trick up my sleeve and hopefully the tide is on there and the fish are moving. And when we got there, the one thing the tide was doing was moving. It was like a river, and with the swell just moving about, it was like a wash machine. This is a rocky outcrop literally coming all the way from the deep, and it's just in the middle of nowhere, so it's got no protection from anywhere. Now it was looking pretty gnarly, but again I could not help myself. At the chance to shoot a kingfish, I've come a long way to New Zealand, it's worth giving it a go, and I've dived in a lot of bad places, so there's only one thing for it. And by the time I was in and I got down below that white water and whitewash from the waves coming over, what did I see? Kingfish everywhere. And what did I do? I missed. After a pretty poor show of missing that kingie, I just wasn't happy and I was burning up. Swimming in this place was just so hard and I was absolutely knackered, so I jumped on the boat, I grabbed Purple Rain, I had a quick breather and I was ready to go again. By the time I actually got to the rock, I could see how much fish activity was going on below me. There was just schools of bait fish, koru, korowai, it was just going off. Now it was hard enough staying up at this pinpoint, and before I knew it, and just as I was about to dive, I got nailed by a massive wave, ripping my mask off, and I had to quickly sort that out as I was going to get swept all the way back, and I needed to stay at this point if I wanted to try and shoot a fish. I just managed to get some sort of a breathe up when below me I seen a school of kingfish just coming in close to the rocks. So I managed to make a dive and they just started turning away from me, so I decided to swim slowly away from them, which encouraged them to come back in, and with a little rattle of my gun they came all the way round and I managed to get a shot off. Now it was on. This fish just took off. Now I've obviously not stoned it and it's just missed the lateral line or the back of the head, so I can't guarantee where I've actually got this. I decided to start playing this fish as if I might lose it. I can't tell where the spear's in and this fish is just dragging line and turn me about. So I'm just letting him run and his little runs, and every time I get a bit of ease I start pulling him back up. Now I had to be so careful because I was getting dragged about in this current and tide. It was taking me into the rocks, and every time I was into the rocks I was getting nailed by waves. So I was burning up quick. I had to try and get this fish in, and I also did not want sharks to come. Eventually I get the fish up high enough that I can see the size of this thing, and I can also see it's not a good shot. The spear has started trying to pull out. Now this means I have to play this fish very carefully. I don't want to lose it, one because it's a massive fish and it's probably my biggest to date, but also I do not want this fish going away injured. It's the last thing I want. So every time it does a little run I let it have it, and then when it stops I pull it back in. The more you just tug on this thing and skull drag it up, the more chance a spear could rip out. As I get this fish to surface, something happens that is truly not ideal, and as the fish comes to the surface, it's just wrapping line around me. It's just swimming about. I've done my best trying to keep the gun and the line going out behind me, but with the swell, the tide, it's just an absolute mess, and I can't do anything about it. Eventually the line goes around my mask, and when the fish tugs, it's got a good chance of pulling it off my head. So I decide to just get it off my head, and eventually I get a hand in the gill and I can take control of this fish.
Nice one, bro. Effort. Can I give you this? Talk in. Got it?
With the first fish on board, Ollie was chomping at the bit to get in, so I took charge of the boat and Ollie got ready and I dropped him in right on that pressure point. We're kind of learning things about the spot as we go, so it's easier to go about by boat than try and swim in this place. He was pretty eager to get in. While Ollie was in there chasing some fish about and trying not to get sucked away in the tide, I had a chance to actually see how much fish was just kicking off here. You can see bait fish all on the surface. There was trevallies kicking about, there was carwai, koru. You can see here feeding right along the surface. It was just truly amazing. Well worth getting in the washing machine. It wasn't long before I seen Ollie's gun up in the air, which is a sign that he's on a fish. Now, I think he pretty much stoned this thing because it did not take him long to play on it. Now, we were both getting pretty exhausted. This was really hard diving and I was absolutely cooking in my suit. My face was getting sunburned as hell, but I could not resist but get in again. And when I seen a whole school of trevally on the surface, I just jumped straight in and it was just insane. I took my time and I drifted onto the trevally, and before I knew it, a kingfish came out of nowhere and I just took that opportunity. It was a great shot. Unfortunately I didn't kill it or stone it, but it's a great hold and I'm ready to play it. First, his fish was coming up nicely, he was bleeding a lot, but it didn't take long before he went into second gear and he just went for it. So I had to give him a bit of range, as this time I knew it had a good hold on the spear, but I wanted to minimise the meat damage.
I heard screams of joy. He looked happy, sounds successful.
Just as I was getting this fish into that last little bit and just getting a hold of the spear, I was so close to the rocks and I nearly got hit by a massive wave. Eventually I managed to get just away off the rocks, and you're finning the whole time trying to stay in the right place. Eventually I managed to slide my hand down to the end of the spear and get the knife in. great feeling getting a fish like this, but it's even better knowing that you've had to work hard for it, you've had to think, you've put in a lot of effort. It's not just been handed to you on a silver platter, and it was just truly amazing to be in there and go hard and get that fish.
Nice boy! Woohoo! Really little eater, man. Nice fish. Get in the bin. Nice to take. Nope. See, she's filling up. Beautiful, man.
Okay. We've just come back in from what was like a wash machine out there. It was pretty nuts. The tide was insane. Reminded me of diving at some points at home. We both got lucky. I got a kingie right at the last drift. A nice toolbox. Yeah, we're actually going to gut them here and maybe get some snapper burley going. So this was the second one I decided just to take him because I'm looking for food anyway. Not the biggest, but he was there. But the first one, which took me for a bit of a run, I'm very chuffed with. Probably my biggest fish to date. So I'm pretty stoked. Oh yeah! No, that was epic diving. Probably some of the hardest diving I've done in that current and tide. You just had to go with the flow. Thankfully we didn't get any sharks, but it probably wouldn't have been long before we did. Yeah!
No one could love you like I do. We're breaking up, we're breaking up. What kind of virus am I to you? Easy at night, I am the few. Let's make this castle to a ruin.
Time for a little snapper snooping.
We're stepping on mine.
We decided to jump in and see if we attracted anything with all the guts we just put in, and to have a bit of a chill out dive because we worked so hard in that tide and current that we thought screw it, we'll just do some nice easy diving and see if we can snoop some snapper. Now again, I've not done too much snapper snooping and trying to hunt these fish, and they've eluded me all the time. I've shot one I think in my whole time in New Zealand, but it's great fun trying and you still see a lot around you. With it coming to the end of the day, we decided to jump back on the boat and start making our way home. We had a fair steam to do and we didn't know how much fuel we had, so again it was an adventure. Now I had got very sunburned during the day and my face was in a lot of pain. What did I have? I had some optical suit lube, so I was smothering my face with that and it was helping actually quite a lot.
There's a heavy load upon my back. No way to throw it off.
Well, there's one way to celebrate a good day spearfishing and get some kingies. It's been pretty epic. We're completely fucked, but we've had a good time. Cheers.
It's been an insane day and I've shot some of my best fish, something I've been after in New Zealand for a long time, and I'm so happy. I can't thank Ollie enough for taking me out on the boat and just sticking with me in the stupid places we were diving. It was just so good. I'd definitely say go have a look at his channel. He's got some mega content and some mega fish on there, so go check that out. Thanks for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it and I'll see you all very soon.